What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So it was requested by one of my channel members a few times. I forgot to do it with just such a crazy whirlwind the last, roughly 2 weeks have been. Slipped my mind, and he reminded me, shout out to Kenneth, yesterday in my live stream. So I gathered 5 aldehyde dominant opening fragrances. There are 5 very different fragrances, both designer, a classic, and some niche. Because I do have, multiple fragrances that have aldehydes in the note, but this isn't about just having aldehydes in the note. This is having a prominent role in the fragrance, whether it's in the top, in the heart, lasting throughout, whatever. So these are 5 of my personal favorites that have very different personalities and are used for very different things. So I want to dive into these. I found it to be an interesting topic because I am a fan of a good aldehydic note, nice fizzy brightness in the top of a fragrance specifically. So let's dive into them. Stay tuned. Now, the newer formula that came around in 2022 still features a prominent aldehyde opening, not as strong as the original 2017 formula, which is why I prefer the 2017. The difference in the 17 and the 22 is more aldehydes in the 17, a little bit more vanilla in the 2022. So less aldehydes in the new version and a little bit more sweetness, but overall pretty much the same. I did do a side-by-side a long time ago on YSL Y. EDT. Yves Saint Laurent's Y Eau de Toilette, the one that started it all, the one that just does not get enough love, and honestly, the most complimented of the bunch for me personally. I do prefer the Le Parfum the most. That one features prominent aldehydes. There's aldehydes in the Eau de Parfum. Pretty much across the line, you can smell them, but the most prominently featured was the original formula, and the reformulation of this, the EDT, is the most aldehydic. You get bright, fizzy, effervescent, clean, almost soapy-like a fizzy, soapy, foamy, bright citrus with a nice crisp ginger that doesn't make it too spicy. This is really good stuff. The one downside to it, for those of you that don't like the synthetic smelling fragrances, the way the synthetic ambergris muskiness and the aldehydes combine with the volatile nature of the lower oil concentration of the Eau de Toilette, it's the most chemically synthetic smelling of the bunch. So up close, it may smell a little cheap and synthetic and maybe a little too harsh for some. It's just been a little while since I've sprayed. I might have to wear it today. I haven't picked anything to wear today. I think I'm wearing this. What the hell? I love this fragrance. There's a stretch where that dent came from where I was wearing the hell out of this. I love it. It's so underappreciated these days with, we constantly get new flankers. They reformulated the Le Parfum. We got the EDP Intense. We got the Elixir. They're always coming out with new versions, and the first one kind of falls to the wayside. And I personally have an argument for why this is the best of the bunch for me in my taste in my everyday life. I think it's one of the better fresh, bright blues ever. More of a light blue that's not aquatic. And it's because of the way the aldehydes open up the top of this fragrance. Again, so bright, fizzy, fresh, and effervescent, almost a little bubbly. Like think champagne bubbles, if you will, that type of fizzy, bubbly element to the profile. Just a beautiful fragrance, underrated performer in my opinion. I think nose fatigue makes people think it's weaker than it actually is because I've gotten compliments 7 or 8 hours into the life of this one. So definitely worth checking out. Even the newer version, just know it's a little bit sweeter with a little bit more vanilla. But Yves Saint Laurent's Y Eau de Toilette is a great aldehyde dominant top note. Next, we've got my favorite niche fragrance release of 2023. This is all about aldehydes, saffron, and grilled pistachio. They list oud, but there's no funkiness to it. It's a dry wood oud, but it is all saffron and aldehydes. Warm, fizzy, bright, but spicy and a little leathery. Faces of Francis from Vilhelm Parfumerie. This, specifically, is my favorite aldehyde dominant fragrance. And you get aldehydes early, often, and for most of the life of it. This is so unique. It's a little lactonic. It's a little spiced. It's woodsy, slightly dry. There's like a creaminess from this grilled pistachio. And there's even a little hint of smokiness. This is an interesting fragrance. I have nothing else in my collection that smells like this. To this day, I've never smelled anything else like it. This is a special fragrance, in my personal opinion. Of course, man, that is God, it's been a while since I've smelled it. I mean, this was the first fragrance I grabbed because it's my favorite aldehyde fragrance. Every time, the couple times Kenneth brought it up, I thought of Faces of Francis. Of course, that's going to be featured. If we were ranking this would be number one. God, there's that slight, cool, metallic, but slightly lactonic smell because the saffron does a couple of things here. It makes it warm and spicy, but it makes it very metallic. It's more of a metallic saffron note here, more so than like a leather-based or over-the-top spicy saffron note. Saffron can do many things. Really can, depending on the type of saffron oil used and what it's blended with. It's an amazing accord to use. It really, saffron makes many different accords when blended with certain. I just love it. And with the aldehydes here, it's amazing. That top note stays for a while. Fizzy, 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 super, super bright, the aldehydes here. They just liven up this fragrance so much that I think, honest to God, if you pulled just the aldehydes out of this, I don't think it would be remarkable in any way. I think it's the key factor to what makes this fragrance special the way I feel it is. I don't know who else feels the way I feel about Faces of Francis, but I might be the only person on the planet. I don't care. I love it. It's that good. I strongly encourage you sample this one. Try it. If you're looking for a wonderful experience beyond just the dominance of the aldehydes, the way the saffron comes across metallic yet spicy, the grilled pistachio comes across more creamy than nutty. The oud is dry, woodsy without any funk, but offers a light smoked accord. It is amazing. Great performance. The quality here comes across very well. It doesn't smell cheap and synthetic for having an aldehydic dominance at the top. It's just so good. Mwah. Work of art, in my opinion. Such a good one. Vilhelm Parfumerie, Faces of Francis. Now this one may surprise you because I actually get quite a bit of the aldehydes here and the incense. I've noticed that those two particular notes in this fragrance pop more on me than feedback I've gotten from others. Because you get citrus, you get elemy, of course you get woods. It's basically a deeper, believe it or not, more complex version of Dior Homme 2020. It's Dior Homme Sport 2021/2022, however you want to look at it. The aldehydes pop for me here. Even the frankincense. I get a lot of the frankincense, actually. I get a smoky, fizzy citrus at the top. Then it starts to get creamy and very, very woodsy. That Isui Super sandalwood kind of smell that you get from Dior Homme 2020 is dominant here. But the top note's full of just like, it really brightens that citrus. This is some of Dior's best work as far as like well-rounded, everyday fresh men's fragrances. I think it's one of Dior's best creations. It smells so good. Look, I would take this over Dior Homme 2020. Dior Homme 2020 smells like a stripped-down version of this. They're redundant together, but this is the better one, I think, personally. Not the sportiest of fragrances, but fresh enough, bright enough to wear in the highest of heat, but deep enough, woodsy enough, with enough backbone because of the woody accords here, to work in any other season, in any other setting. I think it's perfectly versatile to dress up, dress down, tracksuit like I'm wearing, on up to a suit and tie and as a business professional. This stuff will work. Fun night, casual night out, it doesn't matter. This fragrance will work. Don't let the word sport in the name fool you. This is high-level versatility, and the aldehydes play a more prominent role on me than I would ever have thought. Like, I didn't even know they had aldehydes the first time I sprayed it until I smelled it, and I was like, that smells really aldehydic in the top. And then I cross-referenced with the notes, because most of the time I try to go in blind, and I saw the aldehydes. I was like, okay, yeah, I smell them, and the incense as well. And the feedback I've gotten over the years, I don't think a lot of people get the incense the way I do. It's something about smoky accords and frankincense specifically really pop off of my skin, but aldehydes kind of operate the same way. If there's aldehydes in a fragrance, usually they will rear their head pretty quickly coming off of my skin with my natural oils. This is a great performer, again, super well-rounded. This is a great everyday option that most could get down with, I think. Dior Homme Sport 2021/2022. Now this one's really interesting. Now, I don't have loads of Guerlain experience, but this is probably the best, most interesting Guerlain fragrance I own. And I find the aldehydes change the way the rose behaves at the top. It makes it like it's still a thick rose, but it freshens it up so much. It's almost like if you were to make a cross between the fresh watery element of Turkish rose and the thick jamminess of Bulgarian, like it kind of falls in the middle. And I believe that's due to the aldehydes. The saffron doesn't really overtake it here. Adds a little bit of metallic, not too much spice. This is Encens Mythique from Guerlain. This is special. This is such a unique fragrance, a unique rose fragrance that's got a strong aldehydic presence to really make the rose flourish in a manner that pretty much no other rose fragrance in my collection does. It makes it more of a unique rose. I actually sprayed it on my hand. Super smoky, a little funky. It's been so long since I've smelled it. The aldehydes are just lifting this rose so much. It's adding a level of brightness to the rose. Not just freshness, but it's brightened up the rose. Like I smell the color red. Weird, right? It smell a color, but some of you know sometimes you can place a color with an aroma. Blue, green, red, white bottle, black bottle stuff. Sometimes they just make sense. And here I actually can visualize the color red when I smell it. It livens up. Now you have to like rose here. And this is a very interesting rose. I don't think it's a super feminine fragrance. I don't think it's a super masculine fragrance. I think it's perfectly unisex for an enthusiast. This is aficionado stuff. This is artistic. This is not for everyone. This is for the perfume lover. This is not for the perfume passerby. What do I mean by passerby? The person that just gonna wear something like this every day. Just got that one, maybe two or three. That person, probably not gonna get down with something like this. This is kind of elevating your level, I guess you could say. This isn't a beginner fragrance in any way, shape, or form. To really appreciate this one, your palate's got to develop a little bit. And you got to like rose. You got to like dark, funky, smoky. You got to like bright, fizzy, fresh. And you got to like heavy, heavy rose. And it is all of those things, but it manages to be bright yet warm. I'm sure amber's in here. I'm confident there's some type of amber benzoin. And if not, the saffron's right there to help warm it up, if nothing else. Because your top is rose, saffron, and aldehydes. And that's basically like pretty accurate to what you're going to smell. Again, some smokiness comes in pretty early. Gives it this dark, deep, oriental, resinous feel to the fragrance. It's highly addictive. Not a casual fragrance. Not something I would want to spray on. I mean, for the sake of just wanting to smell it, I sprayed it right now, but not something I would want to wear with my current attire. But this is one that probably not too many people think of for its aldehyde. Its aldehydic properties at the top. Orientals and rose, sure, but that aldehyde note really elevates, I think takes this rose to a different level from anything like a Lyric Man, a Zaharoff Signature Rosé, or a Black Rose. An Adonis Awakens, just the list goes on and on of phenomenal rose-based fragrances. This is up there on that upper tier, upper echelon, in my opinion, at least of the ones I've smelled. Your Amber Ouds from Raja Parfum, and so on. This is special. Definitely worth checking out. Not one that you probably think about too often. Encens Mythique from Guerlain. And finally, I think this helps elevate the spices a lot. Very green, spice, aromatic, early 90s classic. I rebought like a year ago. Super happy to have back in my collection. The aldehydes pop on my skin with this one. Just as much as the leather, the florals, but mainly it adds a brightness to the spice. It makes a fresh, strong, fresh, spicy accord, the way the aldehydes come across here. And honestly, I think it kind of... Because the lavender doesn't come across real soapy to me, like not super soapy. It does have that aftershave smell to it because it's so spicy aromatic. But it's so over the top bright that I think the aldehydes are the culprit here, because I do get that fizziness that I constantly revert back to describing with Ralph Lauren Safari. One of the prettiest men's fragrance bottles of all time, first and foremost. Let's appreciate the beauty of this. This flacon has always been stunning. You can get these affordably, around 50 bucks. This is the 4.2 ounce. You can get 75 mLs for around that price, maybe even a little less, depends on where you look. Timeless. You can date it to the early 90s, late 80s if you want. It came out in like 92. You can date it if you want to. Sure. Okay, it smells like that time. But that's the greatest decade of all time. And those of you that are 10, 15 years older than me, oh no, the 80s. No. The 80s started us down the path to what made the 90s so great. I'm telling you. And those of you that are too young, weren't even born in the 90s, you'll never understand. You just won't. So this probably smells like an old man fragrance to people like you. A little bit more of that Guerlain. But this, we're actually going to give it a little spritz on, just a little light. I don't want a whole spray. No, ended up with a whole spray. Whew, I could taste it. So bright and spicy. Yeah, fizzy, 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 bright. I think I get more aldehyde than lavender in the top of this, honestly. Super dominant. Similar aldehydic smell to what I get in a YEDT. Very fizzy, fresh, almost adding to some soapiness, but it's really not that soapy. Man, but the green spice, the coriander, the green elements, all those things, it livens it up. What a classic. So as you can see, we went 5 different styles here. This one, I think, above average performer, maybe not the beast it was in the early 90s. Been through many reformulations, but one of those 90s classics that's totally worth having in a collection. If you're looking for something kind of gives a retro feel that I think is personally timeless masculine. I think it does everything the 80s popular fragrances did, but a little bit better because it gives kind of that 90s green element. 90s had a lot of green going on. A lot of green elements were featured in their aquatics and everything. That's kind of what started us down the blue fragrance path. The Aqua de Joes, the CK1s, stuff like the Issey Miyake's green, right? Lodisi. This has that just so much spicier. It's that old barbershop style meets that 90s green style with some of the freshness, hence the aldehydes. What a good one. So just to recap, we've got the modern synthetic designer that's loaded down with the aldehydes. The blue. We've got the niche artsy fartsy fragrance that's the best of the bunch and the most unique smell that is knock your socks off good. We've got another daily wear designer that's woody aromatic done right. An elevated yet simplified woody aromatic that's just perfect. When I think woody aromatic fragrance, this and Dior Homme 2020 are the two that come to mind because they exemplify what that olfactive profile is so perfectly. But here you get a little bit of incense and some aldehydes to make it, just in my opinion, better than a Dior Homme 2020. Then you have the perfume lovers work of art of a rose fragrance. Aldehydes, rose, saffron, deep, rich, smoky orientals. This is elevated. This is elevated perfume love right here. This is next level kind of stuff. And then we got a timeless classic, in my opinion, from the greatest decade of all time that melds the previous decade, which was the true powerhouse era. The 80s was the true powerhouse era for men's fragrances, with kind of that slightly more modern style of the fresher, greener elements mixed with that old school barbershop aromatic fougere feel right here. So now you see why I wanted to keep it to 5 specifically, because they cross different genres, different styles, different price points, different levels to what your taste may be or where you're at in the perfume world with your palate and your nose and your experience and your taste. So I hope this was helpful or enjoyable in some form or fashion for anybody that watched this video. I'll try to have links for everything down below as best I can through YouTube, through Perfume Box or Fragrance Net in the description. Any options if you want to check any of these out. Of course, you don't have to buy a damn thing to watch these videos. I just appreciate you checking out this video. I have no idea if this will do 1 view or a 30,000 views. Who knows? Whatever it does, I enjoyed having this discussion. I hope you enjoyed tagging along with me for it. Make sure to like and subscribe before you leave. We'll see you on the next one.